Dr. Boudreau on Secure Channel 4.
The Nod AI is now online.
I'll be damned. Cabal, can you translate the Tacitus?
Affirmative.
Very well, Cabal, begin translation.
Unable to complete request.
Clarify why.
A second segment of the Tacitus exists. It is needed to complete the data recovery process. I have noted its current location.
Cabal, run self-diagnostic.
Comply. Complete. All systems functioning at optimal levels.
What? I know that look, Dr. Boudreau.
Nothing. Just being thorough. This would explain why we've been unable to translate the Tacitus.
Boudreau is correct. I advise immediate recovery of the second segment to continue Tacitus translation.
Commander, this is a top priority operation. Recover the second segment with all due haste. Utilize any means necessary.
Welcome back, Commander.
Probability of success now at 10%.
I don't think that Cabal has a high opinion of our capabilities. That's audio from a restart. I don't know why it lasted. So, we've gone from some setup missions to a base building, back to one without any base building.
There could be trouble, sir.
There's a lot that goes on into this level,
Kill the heretics!
and sadly, it rewards slower play, especially at the harder difficulty. The reason for this is, well, a little self-explanatory. So, firstly, we have the newest vehicle in the GDI arsenal, being the Juggernaut. I find it's a worse version of the artillery. Now, the problem is that there are ways to heal your units, but they're not immediately obvious.
Find the temple.
And, well, vehicles suck against vein holes. And we also have Tiberium gas that's floating around everywhere, and there's quite a bit of enemy units all over the place. A single misstep basically means game over. So, you know, you kind of have to be careful at whatever you do. That doesn't mean that the mission isn't interesting, though. It just has this difficulty curve at the hardest difficulty where you really have to be careful. Any sort of misstep is just so punishing, and you only have Ghost Stalker, really. Sure, you have the Juggernaut, but I'm sure at some point I'll show it off a little bit more or better. The Juggernaut, well, if it does comparable damage to an artillery, it does it in a completely different way. Instead of lobbing one shot like the artillery does, the Juggernaut splits its shots in 3. And what makes the Juggernaut, in my opinion, much worse than the Juggernaut is that it has to split its shots.
Anytime.
And that affects the accuracy.
Very well. Anytime.
So, under normal circumstances, if an artillery happens to hit its target, either because it's slow or has stopped moving, a Juggernaut generally won't. Sure, it'll hit the first 1 or maybe 2 shots if it's lucky, but the third projectile in its 3-shot arsenal, or 3-shot attack, won't likely hit its mark. So you end up with this weird sort of like pseudo-artillery. I don't know. I'm just not very much of a fan of it. If there's any curiosity towards how exactly blue Tiberium reacts to explosive shots, this is a good level for it. So I guess at least there's that? I don't know. Again, there's not much that is really safe in this level.
And recover the Tacitus.
Give me a target. It will be done.
We have a researcher that I don't believe is immune to Tiberium. The medic certainly isn't. And sure, Ghost Stalker is fine in Tiberium.
Join us.
He doesn't exactly do so well when he's outnumbered 8-1.
Unit reporting.
So you kind of come across this, like, regularly. It's why I save a lot in this mission. And as mentioned in a previous video, it's probably why future games or future additions to the LP probably won't be at the hardest difficulty, if only to preserve my sanity.
Medic reporting. Yes, sir?
Waiting orders. Yes. Very well. Unit reporting. Yes. Waiting orders. Sir? Deploying. Waiting orders.
I'm sure someone might wonder why exactly I'm not having the medic closer to Ghost Stalker. Personally, you can't replace any of the units in this mission, and I'd rather have the medic saved just in case something bad happens to the researcher, or if, you know, that guy is under threat. Ghost Stalker is generally fine, so it's not as big of a deal.
Yes. Anytime.
And frankly, if you happen across something that easily kills Ghost Stalker, it's probably just what you did rather than who you're fighting that becomes the issue. There is one giant asterisk to that statement, however, and we'll see it soon enough.
Helium is
Give
highly
me a
explosive.
target.
Maybe.
Kill the heretics. Yes. Yes. Give me a target. Unit reporting.
Awaiting orders.
You know, I don't know why those guys stopped shooting, but I'll take it.
Give me a target.
Join
Right
us.
here.
Yes, sir? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Out.
You got it. Unit reporting.
The hieroglyphics on this temple read.
It will be done. Very well. Over here.
Nothing in this one either.
Awaiting
Sure we're in the right place.
Sir? Unit reporting.
I have to admit, it really is interesting just to see all the different dynamics attached to this level.
Yes, sir?
Yes.
Seeing how there's so much more of a cult of personality, or just a cult in general, with regards to Tiberium itself, there seems to be a definite new interaction between regular people, or at least Tiberium-infected people, and Tiberium-based lifeforms. Do they understand each other? Is this just some behavior taken from their prior existence before Tiberium mutations? It's hard to really say, but interesting nonetheless. Oh, and for the curious, this is the asterisk part I was talking about. For whatever reason, I don't remember this level ever being an issue for me, but on the hardest difficulty, things have really turned up, and not for the better. So these guys are all super tough. Even Ghost Stalker has a hard time against them. The Juggernaut does not do well against infantry, so that doesn't help. And seemingly there's a very high number of units that are coming out of this base, I guess. And yeah, they're just absolutely ruthless. This is probably the most times I've ever had to do or redo one segment of a level. I just, the more I fought these guys, the less I wanted to ever have to risk versus, either shooting multiple guys or not just immediately saving after every kill. They're that annoying. I also couldn't tell if it maybe had something to do with the buildings, like maybe they were generating units every so often. It probably wasn't the case, but it was still one of those things where, yeah, I didn't want to mess around with it. It also seems so very weird for a unit to have a comparable damage weapon as Ghost Stalker, and he's got a railgun. But, again, maybe I'm just thinking too hard on this. Maybe there's just something to be said about cultists, and maybe Tiberium drugs are just making them stronger? Surely there's gotta be something at play here.
Ghost Stalker kill.
Yeah.
Probability of success.
And there's still that hype thing about the railgun.
Welcome, traveler. Have you come to
Honestly, I feel like I should just exchange Ghost Stalker for whatever the hell those guys are, and
Sir, you got it.
I could probably take out the Brotherhood of Nod tomorrow.
Give me some room.
Also, the only reason to do what I'm doing with the Juggernaut is a simple attempt at destroying trees. I'm trying to see if I can, salvage the Juggernaut, because at this point in the level, he's kind of stuck. Oh, and that's just GDI doing GDI things.
Over here. Anytime. You got it. Very well. Yes. Very well. Give me a target. Give me a target. Yes.
This is kind of a bad idea in the first place, and we'll see why very shortly.
Give me a target.
If you happen to be playing this level, just kill the last guy I kill. You'll understand why.
Target. Anytime. It will be done. Give me a target.
Waiting orders. Yes, understood.
Oh hey, one of the trees disappeared.
Yes, sir.
So it seems that it does work on the same sort of technology?
Waiting orders now.
Give me a target.
Certainly the same mechanics.
Over here. Give me a target. Over here.
It's certainly one of those things that, had I not just done it, I probably would have forgotten about that ability entirely.
Give me a target.
It kind of emphasizes why this mission is one of those that just takes so long. You have to destroy, or you'll want to destroy the vein holes to take out the veins so that you can bring the Juggernaut around to do whatever. You need to destroy trees so that you can pass through and, get the Juggernaut to move.
It's futile. Deploying. I'm coming
Oh,
to join you.
and this is why you want to kill the leader first.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's pretty dark. They just all commit suicide.
Yes.
I feel like if they had the ability to script it, they would have just had units, jump off the cliff.
Over here.
But they kind of had to settle for what they did.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
it's kind of an eerie end, really, to the mission.
Flying.
The only thing left is just
Your people to the evac point.
doing that.
Unit flying. Sir.
But, of course, I know this after the fact, and I don't want to take any risks.
Immediate target. Yes.
Well, maybe I can check out the rest of this base.
Target will be done. It will be very well. Got
Get your people to the evac.
very well. Will be done. It will be done.
No,
It will be done. Immediate target. Got it. It will be done. Be done. Got
Get your people
Yes.
to the evac.
Anytime.
also I didn't realize that destroying the pyramids was not a fail state.
Waiting orders.
You kind of would have expected it would be, but whatever.
Sir, get your people to the evac point.
Very well. Very well. You got it.
Get your people to the evac point. Unit
Very
ready.
well. Immediate target.
Mission accomplished.